like, and we've definitely discussed this before, but that's a big problem we have nowadays, is that being a teen is seen as a bad thing, or it's seen as like teens are dumb and teens can't do anything, and like,
For me, how I know if I really love something is my desire to share it.
Changing the world isn't to pay back, or the goal of gratitude even isn't to pay it back, it's to pay it forward.
Then you can truly change the world for the better.
I am Porter, the host of Striving Higher to Inspire. And today I have
David.
Shay,
Emery,
Maylee.
Today we are recording our first technically episode. So I guess we should just go right into it. You might be wondering why a group of teenagers, why we're making a podcast, I guess, when we're not, or at least I'm not very good at speaking. How it started was in a homeschool class a lot of us take. We were reading a book, and in the class we were studying on inspiration and learning how to achieve or not achieve, how to gain inspiration and learn God's work for you. And I was reading a book, then the thought of making a podcast came up, and it kept on coming. I kept on reading the same book. It was Doing Hard Things. And every time I would read it, I would think about it, like what I should be doing, what God wanted me to do. And so I decided to make a podcast. And that's why this is a thing.
And since we're his friends, we had to join along.
Well, this is a follow-up question. Why did you guys join with me to make a podcast to talk to youth? Like, what are you excited for? What do you want to talk about? And why you did it ultimately?
I honestly figured for myself that it would be a really good experience to learn from and to get more speaking knowledge and to learn how to articulate ideas so that other people can understand them a little bit better.
Well, personally, I just really like listening to you guys talk about stuff. No, just kidding. In all seriousness, I feel like there's a lot of media out there that's made by teenagers that isn't very inspiring or uplifting. And I thought this was just a really cool opportunity that we don't see a lot. And when we're given opportunities, we should like take them, even if we don't think we'll be very good, or if it can be a little bit scary or intimidating. I think that this was put in our path for a reason.
Yeah, just to add to that, currently I'm reading the Screw Tape Letters. And if you have not read that, it's basically about the devil's perspective on us and our patients, or his patients, aka us, and his devil's working on us. And one of those things that he wants us to not do is take the opportunities that we have and run with them.
honestly, I think I just joined it first because I thought it was cool and it was fun. It was nice to like hang out with you guys and talk because that's the most fun thing that we do. But there's also, I'm not sure a lot of people have access to the kind of discussions we do when we're in our homeschool classes, like with Angie. I think the stuff that we discuss can be really, really valuable. So it's awesome that Porter's actually getting it out to people. Even I'm not so great with the spokes either. We all know that. But I like learning from you guys. So what are you hoping to be able to inspire other teens to do or be or learn or whatever?
I think I want them to unlock their potential. I don't know, like unlock this treasure box that they have had for their entire life, figure out what is the key to unlock it, and then unlock it and do amazing things with this treasure.
If I can add something to that comment. I feel like, and we've definitely discussed this before, but that's a big problem we have nowadays is that being a teen is seen as a bad thing, or it's seen as like teens are dumb and teens can't do anything, and like just like on and on like that. And in my orchestra I'm in, my teacher was talking because right now we're playing a whole symphony, and he was telling us like this isn't something that high schools usually do, but he was like, there's no reason I have that you guys couldn't do it, and that's why we do it, because like there's no point shooting low. And that's something that like I've learned recently.
I think that in this podcast we'll probably use teenager and youth interchangeably, but normally youth are the protective ones. Teenagers are the go party hard. For tomorrow we die thing. But we will probably use them interchangeably.
Porter, why is this podcast like really important to you?
I mean, I'm a little bit selfish because I want to learn from you guys. And I think I do, like, this is important because it's a thing that I haven't done before. I wanted to learn something new, I guess. But also I get to share my gift of technology. I don't know. Not super good at it, but I get to share a gift to people for finding their purpose. I feel like God has given me a gift to help people build higher.
I think I know what you're trying to say. Like sometimes God really gives us this knowledge and truth with the intent that we can like help others to understand and learn that.
That's actually, for me, how I know if I really love something is my desire to share it. And so I can tell what's important to someone when they share it with me. If it's something they're out looking to help people understand, then it's important to them.
How are you envisioning this podcast getting teens to reach their full potential? And like, what do you think their potential is, and how are we helping with it?
Well, I kind of want this to be like Do Hard Things is a good example. I kind of want it to be like that. It's like it shows like youth doing cool miraculous things. I think I want people to see like, oh, this group is doing this and this group is doing this, and also talk about problems that aren't talked about as much on like podcasts. And I want them to have, because we're all youth, we are all teenagers, we all like they're getting information not from an adult, which isn't bad, but like it's different when you hear it from like the people who are in your age group who is going through the same thing as you, pretty much.
So, what about our theme? Should we start discussing that?
Yeah, let's go into our mission statement. I mean, this does kind of explain what we're doing. I am really thankful to Emery about writing this. It is written like perfectly. It's so good. So I think we should go into it. In our mission statement, this is going to be in our I haven't made the at the point when we're recording right now, I have not made the podcast site or whatever yet. So this will be in the podcast description and stuff. It's not in there yet. So hopefully when I release this will be in there. So you can read it along with this, or you can just listen to us read it, I guess. We're going to go over to our mission statement. Our mission statement is: we stand for God, seeking for inspired learning from the highest source through love, faith, and revelation. As disciples of Jesus Christ, we are leaders in Zion. We are willing and capable of doing hard things. We seek for, recognize, and stand up for truth. We stand as personal witnesses of God's love and direction in the latter days. We seek and act on personal revelation and exhort others to do the same. We strive to be examples of hard work and hope. We seek to reflect God's love to all. We know that God is hastening his work at an unprecedented rate, and we are faithfully and joyfully taking part in this glorious cause. We strive to be a mouthpiece of God and one of the mighty instruments in his hand, spreading love, light, and inspiration through the world. We recognize that we are not perfect, but we know that through the grace of God, we are capable of overcoming any challenge we may face. We are inspired youth. The first line is: we stand for God. So this is kind of straightforward. We, in this podcast, we may say something that isn't pleasant to hear, like something that in the world people avoid it and don't talk about it much. And we're expecting to be hated by a few people. So this line: we stand for God. We aren't perfect. We're gonna say something stupid or something, and we try to make it as good as we can. But we're imperfect beings. We can't make these things perfect.
In the end, this podcast will be, or at least I want it to be, in the glory of God.
I think we should include, Wally mentioned that line is also right after that says, seeking for inspired learning from the highest source through love, faith, and revelation, because we are standing for God and we're also standing for God, if that makes sense. Like, this isn't just about us standing for God, it's also us trying to encourage others to stand for God.
Also, I think that we should just come out and say this. This is a Christian podcast, and we're trying to make it as inclusive as we can. But the people on this podcast, we're all Latter-day Saints. So we may see things different than a Baptist or all the other Christian beliefs. I really wish that we had we had more people who were of different faiths so that we could get a ton of different views. But we are going to do what we can do.
Okay, diving in. Let me make sure I read the line right. But it says, we seek and act on personal revelation and exhort others to do the same. Obviously, we are a Christian podcast, but it's not possible for us to represent every faith and every member of every faith. That's something that's really important to me, is that some things we say aren't going to work for you and you might not agree with them. And if that's the case, that's where personal revelation comes in. And that's what we would inspire and exhort everyone to do, because everything is different for every one person.
So the line that I would like
to that is that we seek for, recognize, and stand up for truth. And that's what personal revelation does, is helps people recognize and understand truth. That's why it's so important, is you can't really know truth. All truth points to God, and you can't really know what is the truth without personal revelation.
Okay, so the line that I would like to talk about is, we know that God is hastening his work at an unprecedented rate, and we are faithfully and joyfully taking part in this glorious cause. So we believe that through this podcast, we are a part of that unprecedented rate of growth within the Lord's work. And we want to make God our centerpiece with this podcast and ultimately glorify him in all that we do.
I think that also something worth noting is the line, we strive to be a mouthpiece for God and one of the mighty instruments in his hands. We aren't perfect at this yet. We're striving towards being a mouthpiece. We don't always say something that might be completely aligned with God. Like maybe we say something that is half true on accident, and I think that is a thing that you, for all of you who are listening, to just know that we're trying to speak for God, but we're not going to get everything correct.
After all, our podcast name is Striving Higher to Inspire. That means striving higher to inspire you guys who are listening.
I feel like it's important to note the word striving. Like, I think that's the most important word in our name, is that we're just trying. One of my favorite lines in the mission statement is that we recognize we aren't perfect, but we know that through the grace of God, we are capable of overcoming any challenges we may face. So we're just trying. We're not very good. If you listen to these podcasts, you know that we're not very good at spooky. But that's where the grace of God comes in. We can be the mighty instruments in God's hands, but we just have to try.
God uses weak people, or weak according to the world, to accomplish his purposes. Think David and Goliath. He was this young boy, yet he was able to defeat Goliath and ultimately save Israel for the glory of God.
Yeah, I think that's a great reference. I mean, if you look at the world today, we're fighting against this dragon called the world, like sin and stuff. Like this podcast is fighting against it. We're fighting against a giant with a little stone. But we're hoping that this little stone can severely hurt the dragon.
And also our efforts combined with others' efforts will be able to eventually destroy the dragon, which is the world or worldliness, which ultimately is from Satan.
It's like that scripture, by small and simple things are great things brought to pass.
A small group of homeschoolers, and it's a small group. It's that. So we hope that this podcast can grow. I think that even like surrounding the whole world would be amazing. That's one of my hopes, is that this podcast can be all the way around the world. But that's a little bit wishful thinking. But my hope is just, I don't know. It gets me very happy to think that this might be able to go across the world. It just gets me happy. I don't know why.
What I really like, Porter, is that you aren't afraid to start. I feel like this is a lesson I've mentioned since I first started high school. I wrote it down in books when I was like 12. But this idea that one person can change the world because it only takes one idea to start and get going. And you're okay with it starting messy. But it's so hard to start something when you suck at it. And I'm not saying we suck at this. I mean, maybe we kind of do. I don't really know. But you're okay to start, and we're all on here okay being awkward and not knowing what to say necessarily because we're starting something, and that means we're going somewhere.
And also, we have very bad audio. I have to say that we're all recording off of our computer or phone. We don't have any fancy mics. I know that we're not. I'm just hoping that the words that we say are better than the quality of the mics.
And I think something we have to acknowledge is that we can only really change ourselves. And we're the only person that we have control over. So, to people who are listening to this, we can't control you. All we can control is what we say, but we're hoping that you can be a part of the change.
One thing that I would like to say about one of the sentences to kind of add along to that is we seek to reflect God's love to all. Part of that love is the knowledge that you just living, you just being born, already changed the world. You've already changed your mom and dad's life. You've already changed the people that you've associated with, their lives. And with that, you're changing millions and millions and even billions of lives just by living. And with you dying, one person may be sad one day and affect the whole rest of time. We don't feel like we're that important, but really, in the grand scheme of things, you matter in God's eyes. And that is a part of God's love.
It's kind of like It's a Wonderful Life, where you go like where it's a really old show. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend. It's in black and white. Anyways, it's about this guy named George Bailey. His life goes horribly wrong, and then he wishes he wasn't alive. So an angel comes and it makes it so that he wasn't ever born. And in that, he like it shows like all the things that he's done. And I think that one of the funny things is like when he's gone, it's not snowing, but when he comes back, it's like downpour of snow. It's crazy snowy. I think that is interesting. Like if he wasn't born, there wouldn't be snow, which is a small thing, but like just you being here changes the outcome of things.
And maybe that was an unintentional thing in the movie, but just reading in between the lines, you can even like affect the weather, like you were saying. Just all those things.
There's also all of the things that happened that you made happen that you might not realize. Like if we use the jackrabbit factor, just thinking brings something into existence. And so maybe you've brought something to this world that you didn't recognize was your own, that without you never would have happened. And it's blessed someone else's life.
Now, we know things may seem hopeless right now. Even if things are going great, there may be this one thing, maybe for you adults out there or just younger adults, you may have to pay taxes. And you're like, I don't know how the heck I'm going to get this money. That may seem hopeless. But with existing, somehow God can find a way for that to happen. And with you being able to like pay your taxes, and with that, something small or I guess big, depending on how you view taxes, something like that can affect you and affect others' lives, and you may share that later on with other people as a story to get a point across. And with that, it'll start maybe other people going down the same kind of path that you went down to get closer to God and recognizing that God has a hand in your life, if not two.
That's something that's really important to recognize is that everything happens for a reason. We're making this podcast for a reason. Somebody smiled at you today for a reason. You said that nice thing to someone for a reason. You're listening to this podcast for a reason. And oftentimes the reason we don't know or it's not what we think it is, but everything does have a purpose and there's no wasted effort or time or knowledge.
I mean, if you want to see something that would be different, is if Angie never started the class 15 or so years ago, we would have never met each other. I would have probably never read Do Hard Things. It would have been so different. So I think that's one example of one decision that at least changed a few people's lives to start a podcast.
And maybe the goal of changing the world isn't to pay back, or the goal of gratitude even isn't to pay it back, it's to pay it forward. And we can't change what's happened in the past, good or bad. We can't take revenge for what has happened any more than we can pay for gratitude for what has happened. It's about paying forward and doing something because purely by existing, you are affecting the world, you are changing the world. Changing the world is a statement is used a lot for like affecting a lot of people, but you don't have to change the majority to change the world. It starts somewhere, and maybe it ends smaller, maybe it doesn't.
With that, I would like to share a kind of little story. It's contained in The Traveler's Gift, and it's about this guy named John Chamberlain. He lived during the Civil War, and before he went into the war, he was a school teacher, teaching students at his local schoolhouse or whatever, maybe traveling around a little bit. And he gets drafted into the war, he gets drafted in, and he leads a group somewhere along the battle lines. And at this one point, they were getting very, very tired and almost wanting to get beaten and give up. And so John Chamberlain, they had no bullets. They had no bullets at all. And it wasn't John Chamberlain, it was Joshua Chamberlain. They were running out of bullets, and each person only had about 5 bullets. And they saw a huge wave of people coming in, and they wanted to retreat. And Joshua was like, no, we're going to charge. And so they got their bayonets up, and they went, charge, against the army. And the other people thought for sure that they had backup, but they didn't. And because of that, the other army started going back and retreating. And with that battle won, we may not have a free United States right now.
Yeah, I think I did really like that story. And The Traveler's Gift, that was, yeah. I think that with this podcast, the people who are on it, we're just charging. We're charging into the front line of Satan. We're getting our bayonets out. Satan is getting all riled against us. And we're ready to charge at it. We're ready to be criticized. We're ready to get hurt. We're ready to fight for God's cause.
Ultimately, I think that's one of the most important things we have to learn in life is how to focus on what's important.
And in this podcast, we're going to do a lot of talking. We're going to do a ton of that. But the main thing is if we go home and we do what we're talking about, and if you, the listener, comes home and starts learning more and starts acting upon what you have learned, then you can truly change the world for the better.
That's another thing. We can't open up your brains and put stuff in there. You have to have your mind open enough so that you can have the Holy Ghost speak to you. Even if it's not related to the topic that we're talking about, the fact that you can have an idea pop into your head is amazing. The Holy Ghost can speak to you if you're willing to let him speak to you.
I think ultimately that's actually the biggest why for creating this podcast is if we can say something that makes a change for you, then it will all have been worth it.
Or even if we only change, I still think it'd be worth it.
Mm.
This goes along with the scripture, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says, "How great will be your joy if you bring one soul unto God." And even if that soul is you, your joy will be so great you can't even comprehend it.
This is exciting. It's very riveting. We are so excited to have this episode out. It's been a few months of planning. We would like to thank all of you for listening to this episode. I am Porter, your host. And today I had my amazing guests.
David.
Shay.
Emery.
And Maylee.
Keep striving higher to inspire. Thank you for listening. Keep striving higher.